This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
This is Tiny at Obsessive Tiny on Letterboxd.
And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Hello and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show each episode. You can find more of our work at ObsessiveViewer.com and more podcasts presented by Obsessive Viewer at ObsessiveViewer.com/podcasts. And if you'd like to support what we do here, you can become a patron at Patreon.com/ObsessiveViewer, where we have four different sponsorship tiers. I don't know how to phrase it. At the $1 per month level, you'll have access to well over 150 exclusive B-roll episodes that we record before we record each episode. Kind of freewheeling, fun little bits that we record as prep for the podcast recordings each time. And at the $2 level, you get access to those B-roll episodes and TV and book reaction episodes. So I did a full thing on Billy Summers by Stephen King. I've done tons and I've released 50 TV reaction recordings this year for that tier. So for $2 per month, you get access to all of that. I do episode by episode reactions to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, Foundation, and a bunch of other stuff. Chapelwaite. And then at the $5 level, you get access to everything that I've said, plus movie commentary tracks and reviews. What I've been doing is, just for context, right now I have, this year alone, I have released 19 commentary tracks on that level. Wow. Yeah, the latest one being for this, for The Matrix, which I did a couple days ago. And then last month I did Dune, and I did a whole series on the Halloween movies, Halloween, Halloween 2, Halloween Kills, Halloween, and Halloween H2O.
Holla back, girl.
But all of that. And then I've also been doing what I've been dubbing Patreon Potpourri, where I basically just sit down and talk for about an hour, talking about 4 movies that I've watched recently. I've released 7 episodes of that, covering a bunch of different movies. So that's at the $5 level. And once again, you get access, if you sign up to the $5 level, you get access to that, plus everything at the $2 level and everything at the $1 level as well. And then finally, at the $10 level, you get access to all of that, plus early access to podcast episodes and previously unreleased content. So if you're in the giving mood for the holidays, Christmas, there we go. Please consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. There is literally a mountain of content there that we have for you there, that a lot of it is pretty listenable. So again, that's at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. So I am your host, the aforementioned Matt Hurt, and with me today for an extended potpourri at this late date in 2021 is Tiny. Hi, Tiny.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, how are you doing this evening?
I'm really good. How are you, man?
Good. I'm doing quite well. Good. Feeling the crunch for the end of the year.
Right.
My critics group that Ben and I are both a part of, the Indiana Film Journalists Association, just announced our nominations for this year's awards, which we are going to be announcing the awards this coming Monday. So I have a few days before we meet and hash out the nominees and pick the awards and everything, to kind of cram in the last of the ones that I need to see. So I'm planning on watching, let's see, Drive My Car, Red Rocket, Disfluency, which is an indie film that I've heard a lot of really good things about. And there are a bunch of them that I'm looking at doing, but I have a bunch of screenshots that, Drive My Car, Riders of Justice, Annette, The Humans, and a bunch of other movies. So we'll see how many of those I can cram in before Saturday, but I'm excited nonetheless. And yeah, Tiny, have you taken a gander at the IFJA Awards nominations this year.
I did.
Nice. Any thoughts?
There's so much there. Which is, it's kind of cool how, you guys, you don't stick to like, only five nominations per category. Like, that's a little boring.
Yeah.
And, stuff always gets left out. And I think you had the response that it's like, it's better than every other awards ceremony who has the same 5 movies up.
Exactly.
That's cool. I think that's cool. So, but it's like, oh man, how am I going to choose? Like, I feel almost a little overwhelmed by it. But I think it's cool that they pick so many things for each category. Nice. Yeah.
Are there any that popped out at you that you were excited that we nominated, or that pique your interest for movies that you want to see?
I had kind of... Judas and the Black Messiah kind of got shuffled out of the year because it was supposed to be a 2020 release and all that, but it actually didn't come out until this year. So
it was. I think it was a 2021 release through and through, but the Academy and several awards adjusted their qualification period.
Okay.
So it qualified for this year's Oscars, even though it came out in February.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
But we at the IFJA did not adjust our qualification period. So
right.
It's a 2021 movie.
That makes sense. So, I think it could have gotten, shuffled out of a lot of people's ether for the year, I guess. So that's exciting that it's staying in there. I still want to see it.
Yeah.
And then, because I'm a big Paul Thomas Anderson fan, Licorice Pizza, I really want to see that. That's one of the ones I want to try to see before the end of the year. So
nice. Did you get a chance to see Inherent Vice?
I never saw that.
Okay, I saw it. I think I saw it last year, at the height of quarantine and everything, but I just I hated it so much.
Okay, I heard bad things.
I could not get into it at all.
Sounded good and good cast, but
I
heard it wasn't great. So.
Yeah, I heard really great things about Phantom Thread, though. I never saw that. I never
saw it either.
Yeah. Daniel Day-Lewis's final performance?
Apparently.
Asterisk.
Right. I feel like he's done this before.
Yeah. But Licorice Pizza is just it's exquisite.
Nice.
My friends in the IFJ, some of them took to referring to it as Lickpea. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, Licorice Pizza is very good, and I may be talking about it in a few weeks.
Hey.
Any others? Do you want me to throw out a couple of titles that you should maybe be on the lookout for?
Go for it.
Okay, I just want to make this joke again because it's so much fun. But I do want to say you should definitely, if you haven't already seen Coda on Apple TV Plus.
I haven't yet.
It is a beautiful movie.
Okay.
Let's see. Luca was good for a Pixar movie. So the movie that I want to just say it just because of the joke is that The Green Knight is really good, but there's a Celine Sciamma movie called Petite Maman. Did you ever see Portrait of a Lady on Fire?
No.
Okay, beautiful movie. But
I've heard, yeah.
Yeah, this is her follow-up to that. It's about this young girl who loses her grandmother, and it's her and her parents going to her grandmother's house to kind of clean it out. And she goes into the woods and meets this little girl in the woods and strikes up a friendship. And that's all I'll say about it, even though the plot summary kind of gives it away. But there is a level of fantasy and slight science fiction to it that just makes it is a beautiful movie. It is cool. It is absolutely beautiful. But the joke that I keep making in my head is I refer to it. It's called Petite Maman, but I keep referring to it as Petite Man. So dumb.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, so those are my hard sells for you.
Okay.
To watch. But yeah, I'm very excited for the IFJA awards. I'll put a link in the show notes to the full list of nominees and everything, and then yeah, I'm just super excited. I'm very proud to be a part of that group. It's such a good group of people, and I'm just really proud to be a part of it.
Sweet.
Yeah, and then before we get into, by the way, we're doing extended potpourri, guys. I don't think I said that. On today's episode, we're doing an extended potpourri because we've both been watching a lot of stuff, and kind of just a good way to kind of decompress and talk out some of the stuff we've watched. I'm going to try not to have too much overlap with the Patreon potpourri segments that I've been doing on Patreon, but shameless plug, check out Patreon at the $5 level. I have a ton of stuff there, commentary tracks, and Patreon potpourri that I'm trying to be very diligent with recording stuff, so that I can kind of keep up with all the stuff that I'm watching, keep everything organized in my brain. I have mapped out the next 3 Patreon potpourri episodes that I don't know. I might record one tonight. No, I'm not going to record one tonight. Well, maybe, but I'll probably record 1 or 2 tomorrow. But anyway, yeah, so today on the show, we're going to be doing an extended potpourri, but I do want to postpone that for just a moment and say the news that Ben actually sent to us earlier today in a group chat. By the way, check out Ben's website, themoviestate.com, his new website. Check that out over there, themoviestate.com, and follow it on Twitter at themoviestate. But he sent us a link from IndieWire that is Denis Villeneuve set to direct Arthur C. Clarke's space epic Rendezvous with Rama. So news broke today that Denis Villeneuve is set to direct Arthur C. Clarke's space epic Rendezvous with Rama. And just seeing the title, just seeing the headline for this has me very excited, because I think part of me is... Part of me kind of thought like, okay, well, once he's done with Dune, what if he doesn't go back to sci-fi? Because I had read the trivia that like, oh, he did Arrival and Blade Runner 2049 as kind of practice runs for Dune, and just like it still just blows my mind. But I've already talked about that. But
yeah.
But I didn't know if he would go back to doing sci-fi, and here he's going to tackle Arthur C. Clarke. It's just crazy. How do you feel about this news? Do you have any knowledge of Rendezvous with Rama?
No, I am completely unfamiliar with it. I hadn't heard of it until today when Ben sent us the news. Yeah, I'm just not really familiar with Arthur C. Clarke, other than his relationship to sci-fi movies and how a lot of his stuff gets adapted into movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Denis Villeneuve can kind of do no wrong, and he's at the top of the sci-fi game. He's at the top of kind of the directing game, in my opinion. Yeah. I'm just an unabashed fan of his, and I can't wait to see what he does with this. I mean, I doubt I'll be as excited as I was for Dune. Right. But yeah, it's just great news. Great news all around. I think Arthur C. Clarke's stories, from what I've seen, tend to get a little... I know he was groundbreaking and he was a tentpole of the genre, but I feel like the movies of his that I've seen are a little predictable, and maybe that's just an adaptation thing. Yeah. I'm not saying they're bad by any stretch. Yeah. I definitely like them. It's just I'm not as the hard sci-fi aspect of it is not as hard as a lot of other authors that I've read. And a lot of his contemporaries, like I feel like Asimov is much more compelling and unique and more hard sci-fi than Arthur C. Clarke is, in my opinion, or like Bradbury. Yeah, some of his contemporaries were a little more edgy and a little more original, in my opinion. But I also haven't read really any of his stuff, so it's a bit of an unfair box that I have him in, I guess. I haven't given him a fair enough shake, but if anyone can do something remarkable with Arthur C. Clarke, it's Denis Villeneuve. So, oh, absolutely. Yeah. Really, the only what's kind of mind blowing to me right now are the robot stories his, or is that Asimov? That's Asimov. Okay, sorry, I was just thinking out loud. Yeah, no problem. That a lot of his stuff hasn't actually been adapted that much. He did, of course, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and 2010 is based on his novel. And then there was like a short story adaptation called Trapped in Space in '94, and then Childhood's End
was on Sci-Fi in 2015. But other than that, there hasn't really been much Arthur C.
I thought
Clarke.
there was more than that. What's
did
the Tom Cruise movie from...
I think you're thinking of Philip K. Dick.
Oh.
Yeah, PKD.
That's exactly who I'm confusing. Yeah. Arthur C. Clarke, Philip K. Dick.
Yep.
That son of a bitch.
Yeah.
What kind of fan am I? I forgot. I kind of forgot about 2001, obviously.
Yeah.
So maybe I must have been confusing the two.
I think so too, because Philip K. Dick's prolific stuff.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Were some of his stories in Electric Dreams as well? The Amazon series?
That was full on 100% Philip K. Dick.
Okay. That's what I'm thinking. I was confusing the two.
Gotcha. Okay.
Switch the names for what I just said.
Yeah. Okay. But Arthur C. Clarke did 2001: A Space Odyssey and Rendezvous with Rama. I don't know much about it. It's frustrating to me because I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and Rendezvous with Rama has like maybe two. It's a series of books, and there are maybe 3 out of like 6 that are available on Audible. So I haven't. Yeah, it's so frustrating.
Yeah, that sucks.
Same with his 2001 A Space Odyssey series. The Space Odyssey series. The 3rd and 4th one, I think, are not available on Audible.
Weird.
Yeah, very frustrating. But anyway, Rendezvous with Rama, just really quickly, was first published in 1973. Set in the 2130s, the story involves a 50 by 20 kilometer cylindrical alien starship that enters the solar system. The story is told from the point of view of a group of human explorers who intercept the ship in an attempt to unlock its mysteries. So it's kind of interesting to think that Philip K. Dick, or not Philip K. Dick, but what's his name?
Arthur C. Clarke.
No, Denis Villeneuve.
Oh, Denis
Villeneuve. That he is going to be adapting it, because it kind of seems, and granted this is based on nothing, it seems slightly similar to Arrival to an extent.
Uh-huh.
So I'm kind of curious to see how that goes. I'm very excited for it, for sure. So that's exciting.
Sweet.
We'll see what happens with that. I'm sure that's probably not going to be until after Dune Part 2, obviously. But I'm excited nonetheless.
It's cool news.
Yeah, and I'll put a link in the show notes for that. But we don't really have much else to do in terms of news and everything, so would you like to just dive right into Extended Potpourri, Tiny?
Yes, sir.
All right, and Tiny, do you want to get us kicked off with your first segment for Potpourri? By the way, guys, Potpourri is a section of the podcast where we talk about whatever we want, what we're looking forward to, what we've seen lately, what we're looking forward to, anything we want, as long as it smells good. And this episode is an extended potpourri. So, I mean, almost 360 episodes in, if you guys don't know. Yeah. But, in case you're a first-time listener. So, Tiny, do you want to get us kicked off with your first potpourri segment?
I'd be happy to.
All right.
I first wanted to talk about the latest entry in the American Crime Story saga, as told by Ryan Murphy and his brethren. I'm kind of hit or miss on Ryan Murphy. I am not into American Horror Story at all. I don't think it sucks or looks like really bad or anything. It's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
I think I watched the first 2 episodes and just stopped. Of
American Horror Story?
Yeah. Of American Horror Story, and I wasn't able to get into it and just haven't really tried. But he's done so much other stuff. He produces a lot of like documentaries and everything. I've liked some of the documentaries. And then I think he's kind of hit a sweet spot with American Crime Story. The O.J. Simpson one was phenomenal. I really loved it. I thought it was great writing, superior acting. And so I never saw the Versace one.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet. I wasn't particularly interested in it, but I was really excited when they announced the Impeachment one, which came out, I think it was this year.
Yeah, it was a few months ago, actually.
Yeah, a few months ago, yeah. So the Paige and I were both very interested to watch it. We watched it. It was 10 episodes, and it was good. It was good. It wasn't as good as the O.J. Simpson one. But the acting was just top notch. Especially the three leads, Beanie Feldstein, Sarah Paulson, and Clive Owen, were all fantastic, like award worthy acting. Especially Beanie Feldstein and Sarah Paulson.
Nice.
That was top notch. Their scenes together were terrific. Their ability to capture tension with one another was so good. So much credit to the actors on this. But I think where it faltered was in the structure and the writing.
Okay.
Mainly the structure. It was 10 episodes, but it felt like 20.
Oh, really?
It was like, I feel like they could have told this story in a much tighter way. There were like almost whole episodes. I think it should have been like 7 episodes.
Oh, wow.
Myself, there were like whole episodes that were just not a lot happened, and it was just it seemed very manufactured, and like I guess Monica Lewinsky was a producer on this, and she was obviously very involved in like telling the story, and I'm sure that as a result of that, there's a lot of the story where she's like, I want to make sure this is in here. This is all speculation on my part. I don't have anything to back this up, but I assume there was a lot of stuff that was added in here where she said, I want to make sure this is in here because it's important to like to like show what frame of mind I was in and what frame of mind the president was in and Linda Tripp and all that. And so like, that's an incredible resource for them to have for the show. And like, obviously that you can't even put a value on how great it is to have her involved. But I just think it sort of distracted from the pacing and the structure of the show, because it just felt, so much of it just felt distracting, and like, it didn't feel like it was integral to the development of the characters or the story. It was just there because someone felt it needed to be there for accuracy or something like that. I really don't know the details, but it was just a little clunky in that regard. And there was a whole episode, I can't remember what it was called, but it was basically about how Hillary Rodham Clinton kind of reacted to everything.
Okay.
It had an interesting title. What was it called? Oh gosh, I went to the wrong season. Damn it. Sorry. I should have pulled this up.
Oh, that's fine.
Stand By Your Man.
Oh, okay.
Which I guess in real life she made a Tammy Wynette Stand By Your Man reference in an interview, and she was kind of criticized for it. So there was an apropos, or a very apt title for that episode, but Edie Falco played Hillary Rodham Clinton, and she did a good job. But that was kind of her episode, and like it was good, but it just felt out of place. I think about other series where they kind of take a break from the main story to give you a perspective from a character, and I love those episodes. Yeah, because it's all about character development, and it's so immersive for character development, and I usually love those episodes. Yeah, but it just felt like a distraction in this one.
That sucks.
I'm not sure whose fault it is. I definitely not Edie Falco. She, like I said, she did a good job, but I don't know. It just, some of it just didn't work. But I'm definitely positive on it. There's they like I said, the acting is just so damn good, and the dialogue writing is very good. Nice. There's just a little bit of structure and development issues in it. But I definitely recommend watching it, especially if you're a fan of this series and you like true crime, or you like Ryan Murphy, whatever it is. It's definitely worth a watch. But it's just a tad too long, in my opinion, and needed some editing and some paring down. Have you haven't watched it, have you? I
watched the OJ one. Okay. I did not watch Versace, and I haven't watched Impeachment yet. I don't know that I will. Okay. So, couple of things about that. One is that I flat out, I don't like Ryan Murphy's stuff. Yeah. Like, I gave American Horror Story, I watched the first season, and I I had no interest in anything else with American Horror Story.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm astonished that it's gone for so long and has like a spin-off anthology series or whatever.
Yeah.
But my whole thing with Ryan Murphy, and this also goes for the OJ season, which I thought was really good and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm finding more and more that he just lacks any subtlety whatsoever.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and that is just such a distraction for me. Like in American Horror Story, like I think I would go so far as to be a complete cynic and say that the success of American Horror Story is contingent upon American Horror Story's just blatant, like the way that American Horror Story rips off iconic horror elements in the name of homage. Like it's frustrating. Like, I mean, there was an episode in the first season of American Horror Story that's like a home invasion episode or something, and they play the music from either Psycho or Carrie, which is also kind of the same music basically. But anyway, I don't know. It's very derivative. It's very whatever, surface level. And I kind of felt a little bit of that with the American Crime Story season about OJ. Even though I liked that, there's like little like just subtlety of a bag of hammers falling on your head.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Like just like the Kardashians saying, like, is it Robert Kardashian?
Mm-hmm.
Him saying something like, "Oh, everyone wants to be famous for not doing anything," or something. Just like that level of just stupid pandering, like pop culture references and like cheeky little like winking at the audience kind of thing,
right?
With literally no subtext behind it. It's just the subtext is text.
Thinks it's clever, but it's not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I read one review of American Crime Story Impeachment that I was intrigued by it. And then I read this one part and I'm like, okay, he hasn't changed. Like his style hasn't changed. The show hasn't changed or anything. So I'm going to nope out of it. But apparently there is a scene, and correct me if I'm wrong or provide context, whatever, where Brett Kavanaugh appears and his first line in the show is, "I don't take no for an answer." Like, fuck off, Ryan Murphy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like that whole Supreme Court justice thing, like that, like I agree with the politics of that,
mm-hmm.
but I vehemently disagree with the like lack of artistry in commenting on that.
Yep.
Like it is just way too dumbed down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. So I want to see Beanie Feldstein as Monica Lewinsky. I want to see that mostly because the that whole ordeal was, I was way too young to really be conscious of it.
Me too.
And like I want to learn about it,
mm-hmm.
but I don't know if I want to learn about it from Ryan Murphy.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's my own like bias, I guess. But
well, I think that's a great way to put it, is that
mm-hmm.
he lacks subtlety.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a great way to put it, because he does. And that's, I mean, that is, I wish I had thought of that, because that is such a great way to put it. Yeah. The Brett Kavanaugh thing.
Yeah.
Like is the opposite of subtle. Like
yeah.
he is a 10 on the
mm-hmm.
Richter scale the whole time. And it's like, I don't know if Brett Kavanaugh is actually like that, but like
mm-hmm.
she
is testimony.
He's so abrasive all the time in the show. And it's like, we get it. You don't like Brett Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
Cobie Smulders also plays Ann Coulter.
Oh, that's right.
Really well.
Nice.
She does a really good job. And it's the lack of subtlety when he forces modern politics into this.
Yeah.
And like, not modern, but like, what's a better word? Like a snapshot of what politics are like right now in 2021. And it's like, that just really, really dates your,
mm-hmm.
and it doesn't make it flow across the timeline. You're talking about something from the mid 90s and you're injecting 2021 politics into it. It just doesn't fit well. And like, it's again, it's like that really unnecessary wink to the audience that doesn't really add anything to the show. It just makes you look like kind of a dick, really.
Right.
Yeah, and there's not an abundance of that, but there's more than a few examples of it in this show. But again, ultimately, I'm positive on it. I thought it was really well done on a lot of levels, especially Sarah Paulson. She was phenomenal. I mean, she was unrecognizable throughout most of the show. Her character is just a nut.
Yeah,
and she plays it really well. I was blown away by her.
Nice.
Yeah. Did
you see the Netflix movie that Ryan Murphy did last year called The Prom?
No.
I think it was a musical. The plot summary is: a troupe of hilariously self-obsessed theater stars swarm into a small conservative Indiana town in support of a high school girl who wants to take her girlfriend to the prom. I heard that it was just kind of god-awful. I never watched it, but the consensus was that not the consensus, but some of the critiques that I read about it was that, like from local critics and everything, was that there's this looks nothing like Indiana.
Nice.
So I'm kind of curious about that, but I don't know. It just from what I heard, it was also kind of just really pandering and
right.
Yeah. So, well, that is American Crime Story Impeachment. Is that on FX or on Hulu?
It's on. We kind of struggled to find it because we have a Hulu. We have Hulu Live,
okay,
which is so we can watch live TV, but it's also the same as a premium subscription,
right?
And we couldn't get it on there. We had to like log into the FX app.
Oh, really?
To watch it, and the FX app is terrible. And I think we had to use like Paige's parents' DirecTV login because
really?
Our Hulu login wasn't it wasn't taking it as our provider, and we were like. I was like, I thought FX had a deal with Hulu. Like, what's the fucking problem here?
They did, and then I think I just read recently that they're kind of doing away with the whole FX on Hulu thing.
Okay,
but they're still keeping the. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, we couldn't watch it on Hulu.
Yeah, they're keeping. I think they were supposed to be keeping all the content on there, but I don't know. But I mean, Impeachment, American Crime Story should be available with live TV. I don't have that, but yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So find it any way you can, I guess, or just don't.
Or just don't see it.
Whatever. Cool. Well, do you want me to go ahead and bring us into my first potpourri?
Please do.
All right. Well, I actually have a clip from the trailer for this.
Oh.
It is The Tragedy of Macbeth, and I'm going to play a clip from the trailer right here.
By the pricking of my thumbs, something wicked this way comes.
So, The Tragedy of Macbeth stars Denzel Washington and Frances McDormand as Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, respectively. And it is directed by Joel Cohen. And it is an adaptation of Macbeth. It's shot in black and white. It's in 4:3 aspect ratio, so it's that kind of square. Absolutely gorgeous movie.
Wow.
First of all, it is going to be in theaters on Christmas, and then it's going to hit, I believe, Apple TV Plus next month. But it is hard to explain. For $5 patrons at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer got access to my thoughts on it for my Patreon Potpourri episode 7, but I will try not to rehash it here. But basically, this movie is something that I struggled with a little bit because I am just a massive, massive, massive fan of Akira Kurosawa's Throne of Blood, which is an adaptation of Macbeth set in feudal Japan with samurai and all that. Amazing movie, one of my all-time favorites. Also plug for Patreon, $5 level. I have a commentary track on there for that movie. So that's how I know Macbeth, is through Throne of Blood. And I think in high school we read Macbeth. Yeah. And that's all I really know about Macbeth, or that's how I know about Macbeth. So going into a new adaptation of it, and from someone who is clearly talented as Joel Coen is, and I mean, Denzel Washington and Frances McDormand, they're two just powerhouse performers. They are incredible. Going into that, I found myself really struggling not to compare it to Throne of Blood, which is, I shouldn't compare it because that's not fair. But I will say that it doesn't compare to Throne of Blood. Throne of Blood's amazing. But one thing that I really, really loved about Joel Coen's take on this is that it is just absolutely gorgeous. The cinematography is outstanding. The way that he utilizes that aspect ratio to create like this very tight, claustrophobic kind of film, like the sets are all like immaculate. Like they're incredibly. It's weird because they're both bare, but also incredibly geometrical. So like it's very cold and like empty throughout it, but like the way that the light hits like the walls and pillars indoors, and the way that shadows are cast across the floor is like, it is legitimately like a painting, like a black and white painting.
Is it set in like 17th century Denmark or whatever?
It is, Ireland.
Was it Ireland?
Yes, Scotland. Because it's the Scottish play.
I couldn't remember which one it was.
Yeah, Scotland.
Okay.
But that's also kind of the I don't know, the kind of thing that kind of detracts from it for me is that it is. This is going to sound so uncultured and so I don't know how it's going to make me sound, but it's Shakespeare dialogue. It's like he didn't adapt it into like, you know, like Denzel Washington. Like my Letterboxd review starts with King Lear ain't got shit on me. So
that's great.
Yeah. But no, it's not like it's not like an adaptation in terms of the written word. So the dialogue, I believe, is straight out of Shakespeare's play, which is great all on its own. Like I will preface what I'm about to say by saying that I think that like seeing Shakespeare performed, like either on stage or screen, is just like, it is amazing. It is incredible. And I will probably go to my grave not having a single ounce of understanding about how people can memorize like Shakespearean dialogue and recite it in like just on stage. I don't understand how that works.
Yeah, right.
But the kind of issue with that is that like once you get into the movie and get acclimated to the dialogue and the visual style and everything, it's, you know, it's not like it's hard to understand. I mean, it's English language. It's just dressed up and in like, I don't know. Does Shakespeare do iambic pentameter?
Yeah, but I don't think he always does it.
Okay, because I don't know if that was in iambic pentameter or not.
Yeah, I don't know enough about.
I don't. Me neither.
It's a fun phrase to say.
Yeah,
iambic pentameter. It's fun to say.
I really want to sound smart,
right?
Because I'm sitting here talking about how it talks like Shakespeare. I don't like it, which isn't the case. So
right.
I do think that it's beautifully performed. I mean, Denzel Washington and Frances McDormand are amazing, and also Corey Hawkins is in it. He's great.
Oh, nice.
And also Brendan Gleeson.
Ooh.
And so it's great the way that it's performed, but the problem that I have, and I'll probably have to revisit it, is that I feel like I did not grasp the emotion of the characters because I was so fixated on the style of dialogue and the kind of the art of performing Shakespeare dialogue. So I think because of that, there's like this coldness that's felt in terms of the emotions of the characters. And I just feel like there was something missing there. There was something that I wish that there was more emotion for the characters, because when I watch, not to compare it to it, but when I watch Throne of Blood, like I feel for, you know, the characters, and I know I like the emotive nature of the performance is there. And granted, that's also probably, it's a different language, and I'm reading it and then seeing the reactions and everything. So maybe there's a disconnect there. But here, it's more them reciting the Shakespearean dialogue, and that's kind of, I don't want to say that's it, but it just felt like there was something missing in terms of the emotion of the performances. So ultimately, it was just okay for me. Okay. But I will 100% say everyone should go watch Throne of Blood. It's on HBO Max and Criterion Channel.
Nice.
Great movie. So do you have any interest in seeing The Tragedy of Macbeth?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially if it's going to be available on like a streaming service, I would watch it that way. I don't know that I want to go see it in the theater.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned this in Patreon Potpourri, but I saw The Green Knight in the theater on Sunday, and there were these two women behind me. And like The Green Knight is an A24 movie, and A24 has some very out there kind of movies. And a lot of the trailers were for A24 movies like Red Rocket and The Tragedy of Macbeth. And when the Tragedy of Macbeth trailer played, which was the clip that I played, like I heard them behind me say like, what is the deal with these trailers? and then The Green Knight started, and The Green Knight is weird. Yeah. And like 20 minutes in, they got up and left and never returned.
Dang.
So I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tragedy of Macbeth, see it when you can, or check out Throne of Blood, which is a much better adaptation in my opinion.
Is Macbeth the one where his dad comes back as a ghost?
No, that is Hamlet.
Hamlet is the other one I'm thinking of.
Which in the Patreon Potpourri, I mistakenly said that I've seen Othello performed on stage. I've seen Hamlet on stage, not Othello. Okay. So I am sorry to our Patreon supporters.
Hamlet is the to be or not to be soliloquy.
That's the question, yeah. No, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's the one I'm more familiar with is Hamlet.
Yeah.
He's the Danish king in that one.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, okay.
Something's rotten in Denmark.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, Hamlet's awesome.
Yeah. That's the one I connected with more, but I think we read Macbeth in high school.
Yeah, I remember we read Macbeth, and then we also read, do you remember
Romeo and Juliet?
It was Romeo and Juliet, like the hip hop version of it. Do you remember that?
No.
Who was our like sophomore English teacher?
We read that freshman year.
Was it freshman year?
It was, yeah.
Was it for
Mr. Lindhorn? Lindhorn
really?
Freshman. I remember that, yeah.
I could have sworn it was for... Who was our sophomore English teacher?
Mr. Dorman.
I could have sworn it was Dorman. I might have to challenge you on that.
I could have sworn it was freshman year with Lindhorn.
Because I feel like Mr. Lindhorn didn't have that much of a sense of humor. Because it was like, I remember, I don't know if Mr. Dorman like did this or if it was like something that he pulled off the internet or something, but it was like a hip... a hip read of Romeo and Juliet, like with like vernacular, like teen speak vernacular of like the early 2000s.
I don't remember that at all.
Okay,
I think I would remember that.
Yeah, I don't know, but anyway, yeah, I do remember reading Romeo and Juliet and Macbeth.
I think we read Macbeth and Hamlet senior year.
Okay, yeah, that sounds
Miss
about
Parrot.
right. Yes, yep, that 100%, yep. Yeah. And I remember I was super like, oh, Macbeth, it's like Throne of Blood. Akira, so, do you guys know Akira Kurosawa? I'm 16.
Oh my god!
I guess at that point I was like 17 or 18,
right?
But still,
junior year we didn't read anything because that was composition. Jesus,
okay.
I almost said compilation. Composition.
Linguistics.
Yeah, right. They ain't teach me how to talk though. I can write real pretty, but not talk.
Was that composition, Mr. Murphy?
Mr. Murphy was. Yeah. I don't think we read hardly anything. I think it was all writing.
Oh, really?
Year, if I remember.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Interesting.
If I'm remembering correctly, but I don't know.
Yeah. And
then sophomore year was kind of a blend of both with Mr. Dorman.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Then freshman year was 9/11.
Right. You might be right, though. But I could have sworn it was
freshman year was definitely 9/11. Sorry.
Because I remember being like mad about reading Romeo and Juliet because I was like, I was like, why is this so fucking popular? Like this dude wants to get laid. Like this is it's not love at first sight. It's lust at first sight. Like,
yes.
I thought I remembered arguing with Mr. Lindhorn. Like I was like, why is this why do people think this is so fucking great? I don't get it. It's this dude wants to get laid. Like, I thought it was, people think it's this amazing love story. I was like, homie's 14 years old and wants to get laid. I relate to that as a fellow 14-year-old. Of course,
did you say this exactly?
Oh yeah, I said this in class. I remember saying, I was like,
Mr. Lindhorn, I was like, this guy just wants to get laid.
Yeah, I literally said that in class,
nice.
and
wow,
yeah, I remember.
Interesting.
I could have sworn it was Mr. Lindhorn.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I've since altered my opinion on.
Oh yeah,
like I get it. It's kind of some good writing in there. You know?
Yeah.
But I still contend that he was just he just wanted to get laid.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Oh, Romeo.
Yeah.
But yeah, The Tragedy of Macbeth. Check out Throne of Blood, guys. Throne of Blood, guys.
It is a good one. I've seen it. It's been a long time. But
yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I'm very excited because I think the last week of the year, I'm going to squeeze in at least 2 Kurosawa movies.
Cool.
Specifically because I, on my Letterboxd, on my stats for the year, my most viewed directors has been Akira Kurosawa has been tied for first place with a bunch of different directors because I've watched 3 movies. And last year, he was the top director that I watched last year. And I kind of wanted to keep the streak going. But because Matrix Resurrections is coming out, now Lana Wachowski has usurped Kurosawa.
Dang.
And I kind of really want to try to do a commentary track on Patreon for Seven Samurai, the 3.5 hour epic movie that I say is my favorite movie of all time. Which I mean, the commentary will be fun to record, but it'll be something I might have to do in sections.
Sure, for reals.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, that's my first segment for Potpourri.
Okay.
What do you got next for us, Tiny? And is it... Okay, yeah. Introduce it, and I have a clip from the trailer for you.
Oh, okay. So my next one, I just watched it this weekend, is The Tomorrow War.
Nice.
Came out on Amazon Prime this year, earlier this year.
Nice. And I will play a clip from the trailer now.
Okay.
Oh, wait, hang on. Here we go.
We are fighting a war 30 years in the future.
Is this a joke?
Our enemy is not human. We need you to fight.
I got drafted.
I will be back.
Why is this happening? What about the teacher's deferment and the veterans deferment?
If I don't go, they're going to draft you in my place. But if something does happen to me, you and Miri will be taken care of.
If something happens to you, Dan, 70% of draftees do not return.
Sometimes a man does what's best for his family, not himself.
Move your shirt, please.
Wait, what's this for?
It's just a test.
Oh, a seatbelt. Was it a driving test? No? You don't have jokes in the future?
And we talked about The Tomorrow War briefly in episode 348 of the podcast this year.
Okay.
So, Tiny, what did you think of The Tomorrow War?
Well, this will be brief, too. It wasn't very good, and I kind of knew that going in. I had heard pretty much resoundingly that it was a pretty not good movie, which I agree with. But the reason I wanted to talk about it is because it's I feel like the concept could have been really cool. And, you know, I think if you would have gotten the right director attached and the right screenwriter, this could have morphed into a really cool movie where if someone had taken it a little more seriously and spent a little more time with it, and I think captured the right tone, I think this could have been a really compelling sci-fi movie, kind of in the same vein as like Minority Report. Yeah. I don't think it'd be the same as like a real hard sci-fi like Arrival or something like that, but a fun popcorn sci-fi movie that can take itself seriously at times, like Minority Report. I think it could have been in that vein, with the right people attached, but it just had like 35 producers' fingerprints all over it. Like totally just a hack job of way too many cooks in the kitchen and just like, ooh, let's get we got Chris Pratt, throw a bunch of money at it. Like, that's kind of what it felt like. And just like, just throw it together. People will watch it.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of turned into one of those movies. And it's really a shame because I think, again, the concept was so cool. And like, I feel like some of the themes were like kind of like really scary. Like the idea that you get fucking drafted and you have to like get sent back in time and you only have a 20% survival rate in this war, and like they don't prepare you at all, which was a fucking ridiculous part of the movie.
Right.
It's like, we don't want to show you anything because I don't even remember what the fucking line was. Yeah, I was like, that is so fucking dumb.
Yeah.
That is such lazy fucking writing. But those ideas together, I was like, when they were getting ready to jump into the future, I was like, this is terrifying.
Yeah,
this would scare the shit out of me.
Oh yeah,
and like this could be explored to like some sci-fi horror level if it was done right, but it wasn't done right.
Yeah.
And I think I love Chris Pratt, but I just feel like he was a little miscast in this. I feel like his funny quippiness is great. And it can be used to great effect in so many ways, but I feel like it was a little out of place in this movie. Yeah. Especially with his buddy, who was the comic relief. What's his name? Sam Richardson?
Sam Richardson. Yeah.
He's good.
I adore that man.
He's great.
In everything.
He's great. He's really funny, and I think he was doing a good job with what he was given in this movie. But it's almost like him and Chris Pratt were at odds. Yeah. Trying to vie for the comic relief in this. Yeah. And it caused a lot of stuff to not land. And just the shitty writing all around. I mean, just really shitty writing. But I mean, they also managed to get a pretty compelling father-daughter conflict and relationship thing going. I mean, and it also was over a 2-hour movie, but it felt rushed. Yeah, which is nuts. I feel like they dropped a lot of storylines and stuff like that, and a lot of themes got dropped. But you know, I'm just bummed because I think in the right hands, this could have been a really cool sci-fi movie. Yeah, or at least a really fun movie that we talk about, and like something like Minority Report, like I said. But it wasn't meant to be. I think. You saw it, right?
I did. Yeah. Echo a lot of those sentiments. Yeah, but. Two things just bothered the hell out of me for that movie. One is just a minor nitpick that I'm just like, okay, stop. Is that it does a thing that I hate in movies, and I can't really point to any other examples off the top of my head. But the movie, this isn't necessarily spoilery or anything, but the movie ends with a voiceover that comes out of nowhere,
completely out of left field.
It is so annoying. Like there's no voiceover in the movie until that point, right? It's so dumb. But the other thing about that is that if I could go back in time to like 2008, I love the movie that I'm going to reference here. I really do. But I wish that I could go back in time and just say, hey, JJ, you and Matt Reeves, you're creating Cloverfield. I know it's a secret and everything, but I just want to prepare you guys because every freaking sci-fi movie that has aliens in it is going to copy this look of the monster. Yeah. Like, it's just like, do something else unique. Do something unique with the monster.
Let's make its arms bigger than its legs.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Let's give it some tentacles.
Yeah. Right. And also, to your point, let's not tell these people how to fight these monsters.
Exactly.
At all.
Yeah.
Just it was a mess.
Yeah. And there was I'm not going to spoil it, of course, but there's there's an ending. It's not tacked on. It's a realized and thought out ending, but it was the wrong ending. Like there was a conclusive ending where I'm not going to spoil it, but when he gets sent back, that should have been the end of the movie. And it's obvious what's going to happen, right? Yeah. But they throw in this whole part at the end, or there's this extra part. Like, I really didn't need that.
I vaguely remember it.
And they could have fleshed out all of this, the meat of the movie, and made it a much better movie.
Yeah. Well, the central conflict between him and his daughter in the movie
was pretty compelling.
Well, It was compelling, but also I don't understand it because it is contingent on the actions of Chris Pratt's character that I don't understand those actions. Like, the reason that she is angry with him is because of something that he does. And I'm like, the movie does not tell me why he did this thing or what led to this thing. Like, I have no idea.
That's true.
Yeah.
And they could have fleshed that stuff out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It would have been more compelling.
Yeah. And while that is like the emotional crux of the movie, it's like by the time that is resolved, I'm like, I don't care because I don't believe this. Like, it's dumb.
Yeah.
Also, you've got to love a script that has a completely random scene with a student talking about their love of something that just magically comes into play later in the movie.
Oh my God.
Oh my freaking God.
That was part of that whole ending that I was like, wow, this is just, they really threw all this shit together, man. This is,
it is so dumb.
Again, it was fully realized, but it's like, why did you do this? We don't need this.
Like, why make the key to this element of the story be contingent on a completely throwaway character and line?
Right.
Like,
you could have Googled this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Pretty dumb movie.
It was very
I didn't
dumb.
like it.
Yeah. I gave it 2.5 stars.
Nice.
Which I would probably drop to 2.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a bad rating from me.
Yeah.
I very rarely rank something 1 stars or 1.5.
Yeah, same here.
That's almost as low as I usually ever go. Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah.
I was into it though. I mean, that's the least I can say for it. I was into it and I wanted to see what happened.
Sure.
But that's about it.
Yeah. It's streaming on Amazon Prime.
It is.
Yeah.
It sure is.
It's something I'm not going to watch again.
Yeah, me.
But yeah, Sam Richardson though. Love that dude.
Yeah, he's good.
And he's had a good year. He had this Werewolves Within, which was fine. He was also in I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson. So yeah, I think he's great.
And J.K. Simmons got a paycheck. So
yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
Oh yeah,
right.
Who J.K. Simmons? He had a good year too.
He did. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're kind of running a little bit low on time.
Yes.
So I am going to just do one more, and if you want to do one more after that, we can call it a night after that.
Yeah, I'll be brief.
Okay, I'll be pretty brief with this one, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about The Green Knight, which I have a clip from the trailer that I'm going to play right now.
You rest your bones. I'll finish your quest for you.
And what do you hope to gain from facing all of this? Honor. That is why a knight does what he does.
So The Green Knight it stars Dev Patel. It was supposed to be a 2020 release, but because of COVID, it got pushed. And I'm going to just read the quick plot summary from IMDb. But while I bring that up, I'm going to say, also Alicia Vikander is in this movie as well. But yeah, okay, the plot summary courtesy of IMDb is a fantasy retelling of the medieval story of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. One of my favorite tweets from the year that I wrote, so this is just congratulatory, but one of my favorite tweets was, quote, The Green Knight, it's like part Green Book and part The Dark Knight. And then I attributed the quote to a film critic who only reviews titles of movies. So dumb. But The Green Knight is just stunning. I mean, I was very impressed with it. It is, and one of the reasons why I want to bring it up is because of a special kind of connection that I made to it. But basically, it's Sir Gawain. He is King Arthur's nephew, and he is basically he's at the round table, and he accepts a challenge from this creepy, like forest-looking knight to basically, it's that he is he comes in and challenges King Arthur, and he's like, basically, one of your knights can try to best me in combat, and 1 year from now, whatever blow they inflict upon me, they have to come to me, and I will have to do the same thing to them. So it's kind of a weird concept and an interesting concept, and it's also Christmassy, but because it's set at Christmas. But it is basically about Dev Patel as the nephew of King Arthur, who he battles the Green Knight, and then he has to go a year later to face the Green Knight. And it's a very interesting story, the way that it's told, because it is about kind of honor and cowardice also to an extent. And it's just the journey that Dev Patel's character goes through is very, very illuminating and interesting on a character level. But the thing that I found really that I latched onto is that it's directed by, oh God, what is his name? Why am I blanking on his name? David Lowery, I think, David Lowery, who did A Ghost Story I never saw, Pete's Dragon I never saw, The Old Man and the Gun, which I saw, but that's kind of weird and incongruous with the rest of his movies. But anyway, he was on Kingcast, I think, and they made very clear allusions to The Dark Tower with this movie. And David Lowery, I guess, had never read The Dark Tower, so it was just not something that he was conscious of when making this movie. But watching the movie, I'm like, give David Lowery The Dark Tower, give him a crack at The Dark Tower. That'd be very interesting.
Nice.
Because this movie is about this, the nephew of King Arthur, an Arthurian knight. I don't think he was technically a knight, but anyway, he's, in the world of King Arthur, he is on a quest to reach a destination where he's going to face his destiny and everything. And it's about honor, it's about sacrifice, it's about all of these things. And all along the way, he meets just these eclectic people and these very strange encounters and atmospheres and different landscapes and different creatures. And I'm like, this feels like a Dark Tower kind of journey. Just that fantasy element. It's beautifully realized. It is absolutely gorgeous.
Nice.
And also there is a small fox that follows him around that at one point speaks to him.
Nice.
And I'm just like, oh, it's like a Billy Bumbler.
Yeah.
It's Oi. So yeah, it's a really good movie. I really was taken with it. I was really impressed with it. It's Green Knight. I think it's in theaters. I don't know how long it's going to be in theaters again, but I think they re-released it for Christmas. But I'm so glad that I saw it in the theater because it is an absolute stunner of a visual feast.
Sweet.
So that's the Green Knight. I really liked it. Yeah.
I'm going to do my damnedest to try to see that one.
Nice.
By the end of the year.
Nice.
I think Ben was pretty high on it as well, wasn't he?
Yeah. He loaned me his Blu-ray for months. And then for awards consideration, I got the screener for it. So I was like, hey,
Sweet.
Here's your Blu-ray back. And then I ended up just watching it in the theater.
That's funny.
But yeah, I highly recommend it. The Green Knight, amazing.
Sweet.
Yeah. So, Tiny, what do you have to round us out for Extended Potpourri?
Well, again, this will be brief. It's a series from Netflix that came out a couple years ago, but I just now got around to watching it. It's Ava DuVernay's When They See Us.
Nice.
I had fully meant to see it, but I just didn't get around to it. Because it came out on the 30th anniversary of when the boys were originally convicted.
Yeah.
I think, or the commission of the crime somewhere in there, 1989. It came out in 2019.
The Central Park 5, is that
Central Park 5, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So, that'd be the 40th anniversary. Jeez.
Dang.
Is that right?
Math is hard.
No, 30th anniversary.
There you go.
Math is hard. But I wasn't really too familiar with this story other than it was some wrongfully convicted boys. That's all I really knew about it. The series was really amazing. I'm also not too familiar with Ava DuVernay. She did Selma, which I liked a lot.
Yeah.
Was a tragically overlooked movie when it came out. and she produced 13th, the documentary, but I'm not really familiar with her work, really. She did a really good job.
Nice.
Very good writing, nice visual style throughout this. There's one, I think it's only 4 episodes. Yeah. The 4th episode is kind of the perspective of one of the main characters, one of the boys. And just his perspective is amazing. He's almost like hallucinating in prison.
Oh, really?
And it's really, the way she captured it was just gorgeous and so well done.
Wow.
Very cerebral feel to it. But to me, what jumped out so much was where the performances were fantastic. But most notably, there's an actor, I had never seen him in anything. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Jarrell Jerome is his name.
Okay.
He played Corey Wise, who was the only one who was tried and convicted as an adult, I think.
Oh, wow.
He was the oldest one. He was 16 years old. All the other boys were 14, I think.
Okay.
Or 15. So he had the harshest sentence and the longest sentence of any of them.
Yeah.
And he went through hell during his time in prison, and it was horrible. And all of the other 4 boys were portrayed by child actors in the early episodes, and then adult actors in the other 2 episodes. He's the only character who he played the 16-year-old version and the adult version.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I didn't even look at how old he is. He was born in 97.
Oh, okay.
So he's only
24,
20,
almost 25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, he looked like a 15, 16-year-old boy, and he looked like a 40-year-old man when he got out of prison. Like, it's...
Oh, wow.
And he was just absolutely phenomenal. I cannot wait to see what he does next.
Nice.
If you watch this series for one thing, watch it for Jarrell Jerome. He was just incredible. But it's also just a remarkable story. You know, I think wrongful conviction stories kind of get this silver lining, kind of glossied up kind of stuff sometimes that can be kind of it seems disingenuous, I guess. But you know, this story doesn't have that feel to it. It feels so genuine and so on the mark, and I really, really adored it. It's not too long. It's not too short. It was perfect at 4 episodes.
Just right.
Just right. Yeah, I highly recommend it. Did you ever watch it, Matt?
I never did. It was definitely on my radar, but I never watched it, unfortunately. Definitely
recommend it. It's really incredible, and just a story that needed to be told.
Nice. And I could be completely off base, but I feel like there may have been like an after show on Netflix about it.
Oh, really?
Or like an interview thing with them.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring it up here.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm definitely interested in it for sure. Yeah.
It's really good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is on my list. Oh yeah, so Oprah Winfrey presents When They See Us Now. It's Oprah Winfrey talks with the exonerated men once known as the Central Park Five, plus the cast and producers who tell their story in When They See Us.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it is a 1-hour special on Netflix.
I'll have to watch that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, yeah. All right. Well, I think that should just about do it for this episode of Obsessive Viewer.
Yep. I do think... I'll have to edit this out if I don't pull the trigger on this, but I do have a recording of me, Ben, and our friend Andy Carr from the IFJA talking about West Side Story outside of the theater when we saw it. So I'm going to probably pad this episode with that recording. And then also after that, there may be a recording of me and Andy Carr and Mitch Ringenberg from the IFJ talking about Nightmare Alley. But I don't know how much of that audio is salvageable because we got busted by security guards there. But anyway, I will put that up and post and everything. And yeah, any parting thoughts, Tiny, for this, what may be your last episode of Obsessive Viewer in 2021? Yeah. We'll see you for the the end of year episode or the top 10 episode.
Yes, the 2021 year in review.
2021 year in review.
Yes.
Yeah, so look forward to that.
Yes.
The next 2-3 weeks is preparation for that. So.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And I was listening to the old ones. And, don't listen to the old ones. Like, you and Mike are great. But me, just I hear the anxiety in my voice. I hear the unsurety, like the anxiety, or what's the word I'm looking for? Imposter syndrome.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. My frail
lack
ego,
of confidence.
Yeah. So don't listen to those, but yeah, listen to our last few years, I guess.
Gotcha.
I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I guess that will do it for this episode of The Obsessive Viewer. Thank you, Tiny, for joining me. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's our show. But yeah, next week on the podcast, I do believe I'm going to try my best to put together an episode where Fecus and I will be talking about Spider-Man No Way Home, and then also in that same episode, Sam Watermeyer from Midwest Film Journal and the IFJA, who was previously on an episode earlier this year, he and I are going to talk about The Matrix Resurrections, and I'm going to put that all together. That's hopefully going to be up on Christmas Eve, and then for New Year's Eve, I'm going to have hopefully an episode all about what we did this year on the podcast, and kind of as a sizzle reel and kind of recap and stat tracking and stuff. I don't know. So we'll see. But yeah, I guess that will do it for this episode of The Obsessive Viewer. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I'm going to go ahead and play us out here. Yeah, and thank you to Robert in Utah for the very nice gift of The Devil's Backbone on Blu-ray. So excited to eventually watch that and cover it and everything. So thank you very much, Robert, and hope you guys all have a very happy holiday season. And thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, so Tiny just left, and I'm about to go ahead and introduce us to the West Side Story recording that I did with Ben and Andy Carr from the IFJ outside of the theater when we saw a press screening for West Side Story. So this should be about 20 minutes long. I'll check the show notes and everything, but here is the recording that we did about West Side Story. So here we go. I'm going to play that right now. Hello and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer, where a movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show. Each episode, you can find more of our work at obsessiveviewer.com and more of our podcasts at obsessiveviewer.com/podcast. And I'm speaking very quickly because we are outside of the movie theater right now. And all right, and we're joined with Andy Carr from the IFJA and several different places. Andy, welcome to the show. In the
Happy to
outside.
Be here.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Why don't you go ahead and tell everyone where they can find you online and where all of your work is?
Oh, sure. So I write for the Film Yap primarily at filmyap.substack.com.
Mm-hmm.
I also co-host a podcast with my friend Logan Sowash called Odd Trilogies with Logan and Andy.
Nice.
We're on Spotify and most of the platforms there.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Nice.
Now your date of birth and your social security number.
Social? Okay.
Your mother's maiden name.
Mailing address.
Yeah, well, welcome to the show. We just got out of West Side Story by Steven Spielberg. And yeah, so we're going to kind of talk about it a little bit and not freeze our balls off a little bit here. What we usually do is basically like a non-spoiler and spoiler review, but let's just go ahead and go into spoilers because I'm going to play a clip from the trailer to bring us into it. And yeah, so we're going to go ahead and spoil West Side Story. What did you guys think of West Side Story? And yeah, well, what were your thoughts going in and were your expectations met?
I tried to keep my expectations a little low. I mean, it's kind of a gutsy call to remake one of the best musicals of all time,
mm-hmm.
and one that won 10 Oscars, including Best Picture, and is widely regarded as one of the best movie musicals of all time. So I tried to keep my expectations low, but I mean, the more I saw of it, the more trailers I saw of it, the more I heard, the higher my expectations got. And I would say they were pretty well met for the most part.
Nice.
It's West Side Story is a musical that I've seen once.
Mm-hmm.
The movie version, I've never seen the stage play.
Mm-hmm.
But I really liked it, and this was a pretty faithful, pretty solid adaptation of that.
Nice. Andy, how about you?
I'm coming to this with probably a pretty unique, or at least bizarre, perspective in that I don't have a ton of context because I haven't actually seen the original. I know it's heresy, but I've not seen the original. I'm really not that much of a musical guy.
Okay.
I understand West Side Story is a classic and super influential, and I've heard most of the songs I heard in this movie before. I thought it was visually stunning, and the whole, like, the sound design in general was gorgeous and just a pleasure to look at and listen to.
Oh yeah.
I think, and I thought the way that kind of the social political commentary was articulated was really fascinating to follow along with. But I was kind of. I was checking my watch for like the last third. I was a little. I thought it dragged a little bit after the kind of climactic
the big
battle.
Rumble. Yeah. I saw the original like years ago, and I saw it performed on the stage at Speedway Senior High School when I was a teenager, and and I had pretty middling expectations here. I didn't really have many expectations here, but I too thought, okay, well, it is pretty ballsy to remake West Side Story, but also it's Spielberg doing it, so I feel like Spielberg has like the clout to be able to do whatever he wants, obviously. But I knew that he would kind of have this. He would have care with it and everything. He would handle it with care. And I think that he did. Like, to your point, Andy, about the visual style and everything, I kind of found it really fascinating the way that it deals with, or the way that it showcases the cinematography in a unique way. I kind of felt like it was an ode to like old style Hollywood and like Technicolor filmmaking and stuff, or like it's just very vibrant while the set design is very much like stage set dressing, but three-dimensional and everything, and just looked really cool. To
elaborate on that a little more, I thought while I was watching the movie, I just couldn't stop thinking, like, I don't really think I've seen another movie, at least in recent memory, that looks anything like this movie, just because like you said, the kind of color quality and filmic quality of it was very old school retro, but it still felt, the way it was shot, the way the camera moved, the compositions and the editing felt a lot more modern. So it was like a really interesting blend that, maybe only somebody like Spielberg could have pulled off. And I was just kind of enamored by that the whole time, that contrast.
Yeah. Ben, what did you think of the cinematography?
It is visually just incredible. See this in IMAX if you can, see it in Dolby if you can, just see it on the biggest screen possible. And the choreography, the colors, like from the costumes, the set design, all of it just looked incredible. There's one of the dance sequences at a high school dance or whatever just really blew me away. That and the America sequence were just incredible. I love those. And I love the gym sequence in the 61 version as well. That one, from what I remember, is almost kind of like a dream sequence, I think.
Interesting.
So, that one, in this version, it doesn't quite get to that level, but it's still just, it looks great. The choreography, the set design, all of it is just really great, and the blocking with the camera work, just
outstanding,
top level.
Did Ben, when was the last time you saw the original, the 61 version? Because I feel like of the three of us, you probably saw it more recently.
Maybe 2 years ago.
Okay.
I saw it for Unspooled. So,
nice.
2, maybe 3 years ago.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, I watched it maybe 5 years ago, and it was like a thing where I was like half asleep during it, which is normally basically how I watch movies.
Yep.
But But yeah, I was really impressed with just the film quality of it and the way that it just the momentum of it. Like you said, Ben, the camera work, the blocking, the choreography of the dancing was just immaculate, like incredibly meticulous. And I'm trying to rack my brain. I was thinking about this during the movie, but I feel like I'm going to ask this, and then it's going to sound stupid because maybe there is one. But has Spielberg ever done a musical like this?
I don't think so.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. So that's interesting.
Well, I know The Color Purple is not a musical, but was that a stage play?
It was a stage play.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
and the dinosaurs do have that rap scene in Jurassic Park, so that's cool.
How could I forget?
Yeah. What did you guys think of the performances? I know that the actress playing Maria is a newcomer. Apparently she performed in her high school and was cast in this.
I thought she was great in this.
Rachel Zegler. Yeah.
I thought everybody pulled their weight pretty well. I mean, I know there was a lot of kind of hubbub and pushback about Ansel Elgort when the trailer first came out. People saying, "Oh, he can't be Tony" or whatever. And you know, watching the movie, I did keep kind of questioning. I was like, he feels like a weird fit for this role. Like he was acting well. Like it was a good performance, but it was like I wouldn't have made this same choice to pick him.
Was this his first musical?
Unless you count Baby Driver.
I was going to say. I think so.
I'm not sure, yeah.
Okay. Let me look, because he kind of has, like, I don't know. I don't know anything about him.
I'm pretty sure he has stage experience, so he might have done a musical live before.
Yeah.
I agree. All of the performances were really great. Ariana DeBose as Anita was fantastic. That was the Rita Moreno role in the original. Which again won an Oscar. So
it was so cool to see her have such a prominent role in it too, Rita Moreno.
And maybe you can look this up, or I'll bring it up. David Alvarez as Bernardo was also pretty great. Just really solid all around.
I was also surprised to see Corey Stoll in it. He did fine. He did a good job, I think. But that was an interesting casting choice, I think.
Right.
Well, let's see. Okay, so kind of final thoughts on this. It's a brief one, but I'm freezing a little bit. Overall thoughts, how did you feel about the dramatic tension of the movie? And that's a big question and everything. Like, the actress playing Anita, I think she did a really good job of capturing the emotion of her scenes and everything. How'd you guys feel about the drama as it was presented in the movie?
I may be blaspheming in Sondheim's church here, but I think more of my issues with this, or the kind of drawbacks I felt, were like with the source material or the story as it is meant to be told, rather than like this iteration of it. I had a lot of trouble like engaging with the characters after the rumble. After Tony kills a guy. And I was like, I'm pretty good when I'm watching a movie at not kind of immediately writing off any character and being like, okay, you did that, now you're morally reprehensible and I hate you. I can pretty much feel for any character, but I was struggling to figure out what this movie wanted me to take home and what it wanted me to kind of feel about each of these characters, or maybe it didn't want me to feel anything in particular, just wanted me to respond. But I had a very hard time with that last kind of 30 minutes where it was just chaos.
I had forgotten the plot development after that rumble when Maria basically says, "Oh, you killed my brother." No big deal. But
that scene was weird.
And so I had forgotten about that until I kind of saw it coming this time around, and I don't know. I feel like I was a little more forgiving of it this time around. Not necessarily because of the performances or whatever, but I don't know. I started to remember like, this Bernardo wasn't exactly the nicest dude to her. So
right.
It didn't ruin it for me. But would I have written it a little differently? Probably.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also I get that it's a Romeo and Juliet riff, and it's kind of, finding a way to get to that end conclusion. But I'd probably write it differently if I could.
Did you guys since I haven't seen the original, is it significantly different from a narrative perspective than the original, or does it pretty much stick to the same?
I don't remember it quite that well.
I mean, I know the kind of the big points are all pretty much the same, but
From what I remember, I think it's a pretty faithful adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see, this was 2 hours 36 minutes.
Yeah,
61.
I think the original was like 3 hours,
3 minutes shorter.
Wow. Okay,
probably all in the credits there. So I think it's a pretty faithful adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there are Broadway nerds out there who can fact check me on that. But.
Right.
Yeah, check out themoviestate.com for all your hate mail. But yeah, the idea, I don't remember in the original or in the stage play if Tony kills Bernardo out of self-defense or anything, but here it's like clearly like, it's revenge immediately.
You're right.
And like that, like you said, it kind of makes me feel a little bit like iffy on it. Like I can't, like there's a quick line where he's like, I'm going to go to the police or something, but I came to see you or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they're planning their escape. And I'm like, oh, okay. You kind of made a pretty big leap there.
Right.
And that kind of soured it for me too, as well. So
I think if there are any changes, it might be like they might have added in a song or two there. Like I don't know if the Rita Moreno song in this one was in the original one.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't. Again, don't quote me on this, but I don't think the shopkeeper person in the original had much of a role.
Yeah.
So.
One thing that I thought was kind of curious, and I'm curious how it relates to the original, if this is a character that was in the original, but I don't know their name, but was it a transsexual character?
Oh yeah, I think it was a transgender character, and also maybe I couldn't tell for sure, but it almost seemed like he was like Puerto Rican but white passing,
maybe,
or some sort of other ethnicity, but kind of could pass as white.
Yeah,
that did kind of come back to me because I think there is someone like that, if not like coded as a girl, then maybe just like it was like someone younger than the other Jets.
Yeah.
So
I was thinking in the original, is it maybe like a tomboy character that's trying to maybe something like that?
Yeah. Well, and I really liked all the moments that we got with that character. And I liked following that character's kind of background thread through the whole movie. But by the time the credits rolled, I didn't really feel like I got to connect with that character.
Like that character was
I was like,
necessary.
why were you there?
Yeah.
Right.
I wanted a reason to love you, but
right. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that'll just about do it. This is I'm hoping to do 3 different recordings and throughout the week, because we're going to do, there's a Don't Look Up screening tomorrow, and then Wednesday's Nightmare Alley, and then I'm going to I'm going to it all together. I'm going to stitch it all together for a full episode. But anyway, Andy, thank you so much for joining us
thanks for having me.
Chatting about West Side Story. Once again, can you tell everyone where to find you on social media and your podcast and your writing and all of that good stuff?
Oh, sure. You can find my writing at filmyap.substack.com. And you can find my podcast, Odd Trilogies, on Facebook, or at Odd Trilogies on Instagram.
Nice. And what was the most recent Odd Trilogy you did? Because the whole premise of the podcast is that you put together 3 not necessarily connected movies?
Sure. Yeah. We find 3 movies that are connected by some significant element, whether they're part of the same series, or maybe it's just a single director or a director-actor pair, or even just like a thematic connection, or maybe they're 3 movies about Santa Claus or something. The odder, the better, we say. But our most recent one was the rise of Chloe Zhao,
nice.
director of Nomadland and Marvel's Eternals, the recent release. So we kind of chronicled her rise to prominence. Yeah.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, yeah, check that out.
Have you done any Happy Madison movies?
We've not. We do have some Adam Sandler in our kind of backlog that we're working up to.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Oof. Well, can't wait to hear what you guys come up with and everything.
Thank you.
And Ben, do you want to plug your site?
Say that again?
Do you want to plug your site?
Sure.
Yeah.
Themoviestate.com. It's up and running. Be on the lookout for, hopefully by the time this comes out, I'll have a West Side Story review posted on there. And then you can find links to all my social on there as well.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me, and we will be back for another thing in this recording, so you guys won't really miss anything. So I don't know how to transition out. So anyway, thank you guys for listening, and enjoy this next segment, and thank you guys for chatting with me. Okay, and thank you so much to Andy Carr for being a part of that recording after the movie, and sorry for the delay with getting this posted and everything. And so I'm going to round out this episode with I don't know how much of this audio is salvageable because we got interrupted by the mall security guards. So basically, I went to a press screening a couple weeks back for Nightmare Alley, the new Guillermo del Toro movie, and I recorded about it with Andy Carr again and Mitch Ringenberger. God, I keep messing up his name. I'm so sorry, Mitch. With my friends Mitch and Andy from the IFJA. And we recorded for a little bit, and then two things happened. One, I think I accidentally paused the recording because I was trying to check to make sure that the battery was still alive or wasn't going to crash on me, and then I accidentally pressed the pause button. So I think that it cuts out just abruptly. And then the other thing that happened is after that, the mall security came by and said that we couldn't record there. So anyway, here is a partial recording, I guess, of us talking about Nightmare Alley. So here we go. I'm going to roll that right now. All right. And we have just seen Nightmare Alley? That's what it was called.
Nightmare on Elm Street. That's
yes,
right.
Yes, Nightmare on Alley. So if you listen to the last segment where we talked about West Side Story. I had mentioned, oh, hey, we have a screening next tomorrow for Don't Look Up. I did not go to that screening. And apparently I wasn't missing much.
Well, you missed a wild time.
Yeah.
But not a good movie.
Right. So tonight, we've just seen Nightmare Alley. I'm here with Andy Carr once again and Mitch Ringenberg. If you guys want to just introduce yourselves and say where they can find you online and all your writing and everything.
Sure. I'm Mitch Ringenberg. I write for the Midwest Film Journal. And that's pretty much it, unless you live in Boston, Massachusetts, and get a local paper there. But
okay,
the Advocate. But yeah.
Oh, wait, do you write for the Advocate?
Just a local paper in
in
Everett,
Boston,
Massachusetts. Yeah.
Really?
Are you a big fan, Matt?
No.
Oh,
I
okay.
just that's interesting.
Avid reader.
Yeah, it's my uncle's newspaper.
Oh, gotcha.
I just throw him a review every now and then.
Nice. And where can we find you on Twitter and Letterboxd and everything? For all the hate mail.
At wounded_kite.
Nice.
At Letterboxd. At wounded_kite on Twitter.
Nice.
At wounded_kite on Instagram.
Nice.
There's got to be a way you can make that little tag more succinct.
Shorten that a little bit.
Nope, that's as succinct as it can possibly be.
Nice. And Andy, since you already said that in the West Side Story, just refresh where we can find you.
Oh, sure.
_Carr.
I'm Andy Carr. I write for the Film Yap at filmyap.substack.com. And I also co-host a podcast called Odd Trilogies with my buddy Logan Sowash, which you can find on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, all the major ones. And you can follow us on Instagram at Odd Trilogies.
Nice. Well, welcome to the show, guys. I am delighted to have some of the, I don't know if I made this joke the other day, but some of the IFJA boys here.
Oh, yeah, the IF gentlemen.
Yeah, the IF gentlemen here on the show. And we're
big on Brent.
Huh?
We're big on Brent.
Oh, big on Brent. Yes.
that one's for the boys at home.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're here to talk about Nightmare Alley. I think we're going to probably just do a non-spoiler thing.
Sure.
And just kind of have a general discussion about it. The plot summary, courtesy of Impe, is an ambitious carny, with a talent for manipulating people with a few well-chosen words, hooks up with a female psychiatrist who is even more dangerous than he is. Directed by Guillermo del Toro. Questions at you.
I can go first.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. I feel about Nightmare Alley about the same I feel about most of Guillermo del Toro's movies, in that I love that there is a director who is a master. I mean, he is unbelievably talented. I mean, you watch 10 minutes of Nightmare Alley and you're like, this dude is in control. The cinematography, the acting, like, it is absolutely unbelievable. And he is making genre films. Like, he is making hardcore genre films that do not get made at this level anymore. Right, I mean, this is a $100 million noir film. With hints of horror, but it is a straight up noir. Do not get that confused.
Right.
And yet I also feel like that's it. Like, it is a really impressive genre exercise at a high budget that emotionally I was mildly invested in.
Interesting. Okay.
Guillermo feels like an A+ craftsman that I kind of feel like makes like B+ movies, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, that totally
high grade B genre.
Yeah, but I love B movies.
Oh, sure.
B movies are my A movies. And yet, like, emotionally, it's like he's not trashy enough, but he's also like not like art. Like, he's not like I don't get the emotional sort of catharsis I want at the end of his movie, but I also don't get like these sort of like visceral, like gory, goofy thrills that I necessarily need. And like, but at the end, like, it is a very good movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like so happy. It's like, I kind of want this to be like my favorite movie of the year.
Sure.
Instead, I'm like, that was really good.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
He makes kind of like high grade B movies, like you said, and it's just the sheen of them is really, really impressive.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with plots that are like really out there and stuff, like out
there in the context of like what a modern audience is expecting.
Yeah, exactly. Andy, what did you think?
Well, I certainly wouldn't add much to what Mitch said about Guillermo del Toro as a director. I think that's absolutely on point. He's kind of a master of his specific taste and delivers on that, full stop. I will say, in regards to like, the emotionality of this story and the kind of plot on its own. Do you curse on this podcast?
Yes. Fuck yes.
Yeah. I was kind of fucking bored.
Oh yeah.
I really liked the first hour, maybe hour and a half, where it mostly takes place in a carnival. And it's kind of Bradley Cooper's character kind of coming up through the carny life and figuring all that out and meeting all these interesting characters that seem to have maybe more layers than we're seeing at first, or at least than Bradley Cooper's seeing at first. But then it becomes something else and becomes more of kind of a noir thriller mystery con job type thing that was way less interesting to me than just kind of let me figure out what the carny life is about and all that. So I liked the beginning and I liked the ending, but I got swept up in the slog in the middle.
I'm kind of of the same mind. There's like a hard reset about an hour in where we jump a little bit and then we kind of have to just play catch up with the characters, and then it's just like that carny lifestyle just kind of goes away entirely and then transitions into like that noir thing, which I liked for the most part, but then it kind of seems like throughout the whole beginning of the movie there are a bunch of instances where people are using like mentalist tricks, and then we get like something I thought was really effective in that first section was that we see it play out, and then we see just the explanation of it afterward, and it's so just like it's so clever to an extent how it plays out each time. And then I feel like when we transition to the noir thing, there's a similar kind of thing, but it's not as compelling as like the little Carney tricks and everything, and it plays out for far too long, and it's just it kind of just seems like, okay, we spent an hour with this fun Carney atmosphere and everything, and the vibrant colors and just the amazing like cinematography and everything, and then now we're transitioning into a more I wouldn't say conventional, because I don't think Guillermo del Toro does anything conventional.
Right.
No,
but like a less vibrant, like more straightforward noir thing, as straightforward as he can be with it.
Right.
And so that kind of took me out of it a little bit. I did really like the ending though, which we won't spoil it or anything, but I really enjoyed the ending, how it kind of all wrapped up and everything. Yeah.
I would just say too, it's like, I feel like when a movie is like very good that I want to be like great, I feel like my review, I'm like spending so much time just being like, well, here's what stopped it from being great. And like, and in this case, it's like what this movie does so well is that like, I mean, visually, like the set design, every frame of this movie is
gorgeous.
Oh, it's immaculate.
Absolutely.
Movies don't look like this. They just do not look like this ever.
Well, it's like what movies want to look like. Like that's what it feels. Like that's what movies look like in movies.
Yeah, they're like
something.
Whatever. Like here's some boring. You know what I mean? Like Disney's Carnival, like in theaters this January. Like it's like, and it's all computer generated. It's like whatever's computer generated in this movie is like completely seamless.
I didn't notice anything.
Completely seamless.
When you said Disney's Carnival, I immediately thought Jungle Cruise.
Yeah, like,
groaning on the inside.
Right. I didn't want to say that because I haven't seen that movie. But like,
it's spot on.
It's like Guillermo del Toro is like a filmmaker, and like, so it's like to me, it's like, okay, the fact that this movie is like it's a really good movie, and like we haven't even talked about the performances, but I felt like Bradley Cooper, like he's such a whatever actor to me, does not get me excited, but like I felt like he really kind of, as the movie went on, I really bought his sort of like desperation. Like, he is a great film noir protagonist in the sense that like he's a strong, like kind of sexy dude at first, and then you're like, as the movie goes on, he's like pathetic.
See him,
he's like a totally pathetic loser.
The scent is incredible.
Like, I see how the woman is drawn in. I see how she's repulsed.
Right.
My biggest complaint in this movie, and I mentioned this to you guys earlier, is like I think Rooney Mara, his like initial love interest, is like almost strictly a plot device.
She's very underused as an actress.
Oh, and this is like the latest of like 10 movies in which she's employed, and she's not great.
Yeah, but, and like you guys were saying, she has amazing acting chops and everything, and it's just so underserved in this movie. And like I was saying, that it's kind of it's a thing where she does one thing and it's only to serve what happens later in the movie, and then she like does another thing and it's only to serve what happens there. She doesn't have like any actual arc except for in relation to Bradley Cooper's character.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of agency there.
No.
I mean, like I thought the atmosphere of it was completely engrossing and convincing, and I never once thought like, oh, this is, a facade or, a story that's being told to me. It's just, it exists. This is a world that I'm peering into. And yet for as much as I was kind of conceptually invested in it, I was never emotionally grabbed by it. And it was just kind of like, this feels like a love letter to something that maybe I lack the context for. And so it's like, I'm happy for you, Guillermo, but
it's a love letter to World War II era Carney life.
Yeah.
I don't mean this as like you haven't started up on your Fox Noirs or whatever, but like, I mean, the movie to a T follows the exact plot arc. And like, and when I think back to something like even some of the greatest noirs, like Out of the Past, or like even some 70s stuff like Body Heat, it's like, yeah, these are characters that just like make dumbass decisions that you're like, what are you fucking doing, dude? Yep. And to me, like, this is doing the same thing, but sometimes I think like Guillermo's sort of like, I don't know if it's like just his reputation at this point, but like sometimes I think he's like so prestigious that I'm like, what are, you know what I mean? I almost feel like I'm like,
okay, and thank you so much to Mitch and Andy for joining me for that segment. However it ended, I haven't checked it yet, so I'm doing all of this in post. So hopefully it's not too bad. Hopefully it's not too abrupt. I'll do a fade out. I will have done a fade out. You would have just heard it. So hopefully you guys don't mind that abruptness, or maybe I can find a good edit point to end it in. Anyway. That'll do it for this episode of The Obsessive Viewer. Thank you guys so much for listening, and thank you to Andy and to Mitch for joining us for those recordings after those screenings. And so I'm going to go ahead and play us out. Once again, check out Patreon, patreon.com/obsessiveviewer, and support us and everything. And if not, that's fine. But also, I hope you guys have a good holiday season, and I'll be back next week, hopefully, with a big episode for Spider-Man and The Matrix Resurrections. So thank you guys, and I'll see you next time. And now, here's a short clip from our Patreon exclusive RSS feed. To hear the full clip and more exclusive Patreon content, go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer and become a patron at the minimum rate of $1 per month. Thank you and enjoy. And I stand by that. I rated it 4 stars on Letterboxd. It was a very just emotionally pure movie. The relationship or the friendship between Luca and Alberto is just so beautifully rendered, so beautifully realized, because it is that curiosity of youth and the idea of them bonding over their shared interest of like scooters or Vespas, I should say. And exploring the world. Like there's this hunger for exploration of the world and everything, because this is a completely foreign world to them, because they're sea monsters. And the way that it works is that they're sea monsters under the sea, and then when they come to land, they just change into humans. And so there is a lot of like deceit or deception that they have to engage in with the people that they meet on land.
This podcast was edited and produced by Matt Hurt and presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. You can find links to all of our shows at ObsessiveViewer.com/podcasts. For exclusive bonus content, including reviews, commentaries, and B-roll episodes, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/ObsessiveViewer. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.